I had the misfortune of having health issues a while back, and it was quite subtle, but they were there, and I just sort of thought everyone struggled with them, so they weren't really that big. But from my late teens, I struggled with asthma and allergy. My dad is a chronic asthmatic. He manages it now, but he's had asthma pretty much his whole life. And that's just seems to have come down through the family line. So of course my siblings and their children, there's asthma and allergies all the way through the family. So that was my first thing. I used to get headaches on a regular basis. I used to have irritable bowel. I had chronic depression, manic depression. I had a variety of ailments with peculiarities within my organ functions. I had quite a long list, and it got to a point where one of my mentors challenged me and said, "You really need to look at your health and have a good look at it." And I said, "Well, what do you suggest?" And that me being open and then following through on that journey transformed my life, because it took me into a place of learning. And some of you may know I didn't do very well at school. I failed a lot in school. I think they need to re-evaluate the scoring system, because they didn't have F's and G's and H's and I's when they used to do the marking for me, but I would tend to blow the scale out the bottom end, and I'd always get comments on my reports of, Malcolm needs to try much harder, he needs to do more homework, he needs to do this, he's very distracted, he's all these sorts of comments. None of them were very uplifting, I can tell you. And so consequently I failed school miserably, pretty much all the way through, barely scraping through. And all this sort of stuff was going on in my background. And I, in reflection, I would say, I wonder how much my health was actually impacting my schooling, or I wonder how much of my schooling failure was impacting my health, depending on how I look at it, or maybe both. So after I started to study this sort of stuff and start to, really start to absorb things, it put me into a journey of learning. And so I started to pursue my own physical healing on many different things, and I, as a consequence, well, it was a culmination of events. But at 30 years of age, I contracted pneumonia, cerebral meningitis, and then I had a stroke. So that was at 30, and that was another challenge for me that I had to, work through. Through my experimenting, learning, studying, mentoring, visits to all the different ologists you can see, psychologists and psychiatrists and different therapies, what I read and whatnot, I started to learn, and I started to fill in all the gaps of why I was the way I was. And it was a mystery to me that I had never really realized why I couldn't achieve the things that I wanted to achieve because of my past. My past was anchoring me in my past and blocking me from my future, my good future. It was taking me into a bad future because there was still lots of cycles and blockages and things robbing me. And it was only when I started to study this stuff that I started to learn it. Now, what was interesting is I started to learn about personal development, and I was excited, and I'd go to my friends and family and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm learning this, blah, blah, blah." And they'd be looking at me like, I had two heads. They really had a hard time getting their head around it. Now, why? Because at that point in their life, it wasn't relevant. They hadn't reached that point in their life where they wanted to learn and get free of their baggage. And that's very, very common. Unfortunately, what happens is it normally comes through a culmination of events or a crisis when really people hit the wall, they go through a divorce, or somebody dies, or some sort of tragedy occurs, that really kicks them, and that's when they start to evaluate their life. I'd like to propose that you don't want to wait until it's all hitting the fan and you're in a highly elevated emotional state where you've got a trauma on your hands, where you've got this new incident on your hands. I'd like to say to you, you want to start learning about yourself now, because you want to protect what you have, and people are losing out, and they're not getting what they deserve through lack of education. It's interesting that in the Bible it says, through lack of knowledge, people perish. And I remember that word perish is not used a lot, but when you think about the word perish, from my mind, it went into perishables, and that's sort of associated with shopping. You go up to shopping and you buy your perishables. They're the ones you've got to buy and get them home quickly into the fridge or the freezer or whatever. So I'm thinking, oh no, I'm like a perishable. I'm going to, because I'm not in the right environment, I'm shriveling up and I'm going off. I'm going bad. I'm not going to last. And that's really where the track I was on. I had asthmas and allergies, and I was, I had lung issues, and I couldn't breathe sometimes properly, and all this combination of stuff that was going on. And ultimately, it was robbing me of where I wanted to be. So as I started to study more and more, and I started to do more and more therapies, the light started to come on, and I started to see that if I got rid of some of the baggage that I was carrying and some of the traumas that I was carrying, I would potentially be able to move forward and start to get more success, because my energy, my success, my clarity was all starting to happen. And so as I worked on my physiology, what I found, and it wasn't like, well, that's it, I've got rid of this and I've got rid of that. It just kind of happened. So I can't actually pinpoint exactly, specifically the thing that sorted it, but I got rid of my allergies. I got rid of my asthmas. There was things that I would eat that would just go straight through me, and it was a gluten intolerance or something like that. Well, I don't have to watch what I eat now. My energy levels started to go up. I didn't need to sleep as long, and and that one's a really, really important one, guys. There's lots of people I talk to that they're talking about low energy levels. I struggle with my energy and I just get through the day and then I collapse. I would propose to you that if you have got unresolved baggage in your past, traumas, abuse, whatever, there is an amount of energy that is required to maintain that emotional state that you're suppressing. If you have not dealt with it, it is not filed away, you haven't forgotten, it is stored. Let me say that again. Just because you're not in touch with these emotions doesn't mean you've forgotten. They're not there, or they're out of the way and they're not affecting you anymore. They are stored. How do I know that? Countless people sitting in my office saying, I had no idea how blocked, how painful, how whatever that thing was that you just found. We've got to realize we're like a computer. We just store, we just accumulate, and we just build up. So you can imagine if you've been subjected to trauma over and over and over and over again, you're going to have a lot of baggage that's basically stealing your battery life. You will be in a discharged state earlier than what you should be. It's as simple as that. And I found myself that my energy levels just got released. Now 80, 90, 100 hours a week. That's a pretty normal week for me. And I just go from strength to strength. I'm not cowering. I'm not crashing. I'm not running out of energy. I've had a pretty good time of it. So I really want to encourage you guys, get on to helping yourself develop and grow and educate, and you can get through this baggage. I had this irritable bowel thing for years and years and years. Gone. Asthma, gone. Allergies, gone. No more hay fever. None of this medication, going to the chemist all the time. It was a financial thing too, saved me some money. So these are very worthwhile things following through on. And it's very important for you to make sure that you have the health that you want. It's not a mystery. You can figure it out. Just spend the time, do your research, and you'll find the answers. So I would love to get some feedback. Tell me your journey. Tell me what's been going on. If I can help you, I will. Put a comment up, ask a question, and ultimately share this information, because I want to get it out there that you can overcome just about anything that you've got happening in your life and bring you to a place of healing and resolve and move into a much better quality of life. Thanks for listening. Like, share, comment, feedback. Looking forward to it. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.